let's talk about Kyrie Irving for a second.
Okay.
It just got announced that
It's a totally different situation.
Totally different situation. There are some relationships. There are some things that kind of relate. I feel that Kyrie kind of got caught up in Kanye's bullshit.
Yeah.
It was sort of this whole steamroller thing where everyone became more sensitive about this type of thing. He had posted up a link to the film Hebrews to Negroes, I believe.
I watched it.
So you watched it?
I did.
Okay. So I did not watch it, but I talked to a number of people that watched it all the way through, and we talked about various aspects of it.
Yeah.
From your point of view, and look, I fully understand that two people could watch the same film and get something completely different out of it. From my point of view, it seems like Kyrie Irving watched it, and he took in the whole black people being the original Israelites, and that's what he focused on, and that's what he embraced.
Right.
There might have been parts in that film that were offensive to certain people that he may not have even paid attention to because he was focusing on a different part. I would like to give him the benefit of the doubt based on some of the things he said and so forth. In that film, what were the offensive parts that people had a certain degree of outrage over?
Okay. So the film begins with a quote from Henry Ford. It starts.
And what was the quote?
I have it somewhere because we did it on the podcast.
Okay, so you pulled up the quote. What's the quote exactly?
Okay, so this is the quote. So it begins with, and I do want to have a longer conversation about some of the reasons why I think the Kyrie thing happened the way that it happened, because I think it's completely different from Kanye. But I do want to have a conversation about that. But so Hebrews to Negroes comes on. They do a short introduction, and then when the documentary kind of starts, it starts with a quote, and it says, "The Christian cannot read his Bible except through the Jewish spectacles, and therefore reads it wrong. As a result, Christians don't have God's word on a certain matter. They have the Jews' word. Judaism is not only the teaching of the synagogue, but also the doctrine of every Christian church in America. Through our propaganda, the church has become our most avid supporter. This has even given us a special place in society. They're believing the lie that we are the chosen people and they the Gentiles." Henry Ford from the International Jew, Volume 4. Henry Ford from the International Jew, Volume 4, page 238. All right, there's another quote here that goes on, and this quote is from a gentleman, and everybody should be able to look this up. This quote is from a gentleman named Harold Wallace Rosenthal. Okay, now here's the thing about this quote. This quote is framed on from Hebrews to Negroes as a quote from this guy. The only problem with this is this quote came out in 1976, and this guy didn't say this. It was a quote that was attributed to him 2 years after he had passed away. So when I'm watching this, I'm watching both, and everyone's free to check their math on this. And if you believe that he said this, but his family, his friends, everyone say that he did not say this, right? Kyrie Irving wouldn't have known either one of those things, okay? He wouldn't have known. I'm not saying he wouldn't have known. I want to speak for what Kyrie knows. He's a very well-read man, so let me make sure I'm in that. If you didn't know, let me not speak to Kyrie Irving right now. If you didn't know what Henry Ford was and who Henry Ford was in terms of what he believed about Jewish people, then you would see that quote and you would say, "Hey, that's the guy who started Ford. We should believe that. Like that's an accurate source for that." And if you read the second quote and didn't do any fact checking on it, which I did when I watched it, I just wanted to see who said this and learn more about the person. You'd see that the quote itself it's not something that you should frame a documentary around, because the documentary isn't framed around that quote, but it's not something that you should include because it's too controversial in that a lot of people believe it's not real.
And what was the quote?
It's a long one. So the quote is, hold on. The quote is, "The Jews have established 5 major falsehoods was worked to conceal their nature and protect their status and power. 1 is that the Jews are Israelites and thus God's chosen people. 2 is Jesus Christ is a Jew. 3 is that there are 6 million Jews that were killed in the Holocaust during World War II. 4 is that all races are equal and brothers, and that the Jews are just another religious group. We are obligated to conceal our own particular character and mode of life so that we will be allowed to continue our existence as a parasite among the nations. And that is attributed to this Harold Wallace Rosenthal gentleman in 1976. If you go look that up, there is just a tremendous amount of discourse about whether or not he actually really said that. So much discourse to the point that if I were doing a documentary, I wouldn't include it, because that would be like attributing something that Malcolm X said 2 years after Malcolm was dead, and all his friends and family said Malcolm never said that.
Yeah.
So, but even even what's in those things, right? There's Holocaust denial in there right away. There's Jews being called the parasites that are in there right away. So, but here's the.
There's also, I heard the Jews worship the devil.
That's later on.
Later on, yeah.
All right, but I'm talking about like what it starts with.
Yeah.
There's a couple of things about this documentary, and I don't want to go back and forth with the Hebrew Israelites. I have one of my uncles is a Hebrew Israelite. I don't want to go back and forth with the Hebrew Israelites. But this is what I'll tell you. Number one, I don't think Kyrie Irving watched this documentary. I don't think that he watched it. Okay? I don't think that Kyrie Irving watched this documentary. I think that there's something else here. As Black Americans, as Black people, we know that they're lying about us. Okay, so we know that there's more to our history. We know that we have a place in this world. We know that we have a place in this country. We know that there's no way to write the story of humanity without including the prodigious accomplishments and contributions of Black people and African people. We know that. We also know that part of the story of the world and civilization, religion, history, mathematics, science, astronomy, all of that stuff is simply not told. And we know that it's not told purposefully. Mm-hmm. So what that leads us to do is search for what we believe is the truth of us. It lends us to search for what it is that they are hiding, what it is that is being hidden from us. And when I say they, I'm not talking about one particular group. I'm talking about whatever structures white supremacy has formed in the time that Black people have been the servant class of the Western world, right? And so sometimes in search of that history, which Black people are Jewish in origin. They're Jewish, like you go right now. There's a all parts of Ethiopia.
Yeah, there's
North
a bunch
Africa.
of when I've been to Israel, I've always seen a lot of Ethiopian Jews.
There's lots of Black Jews, and have always been Black Jews, and have led up to some skirmishes as far back as the 60s in like Black Jews trying to assert who they are, right? That's one thing. It's one thing to believe that we have a place in Judaism. We have a place in Christianity. Mm-hmm. Obviously, we have a place in Islam. Mm-hmm. We have a place. There's one thing to believe that we have that, right? There's another thing to believe that there is one group that is stopping us from accessing that history purposefully and in a conspiratorial manner to control the world. That's where the points diverge. Every Black man, Black woman in this world should search for the truth of who we really are. But the truth of who we really are has to come through what it is that we are accessing, what it is that we see. You know what I mean? And so for me, the point where the documentary goes wrong for me isn't in investigating where Black people come from and what we really are in terms of having connection to Judaism or to being Jews. It's in assigning, placing blame, and demonizing one group of people for all of this. Do you know who's responsible for fucking over Black people historically in the Western world? Everyone. When I say everybody, I mean everybody. And that's not to give anyone a pass for specifically what it is that they did. But when you look in the thing and you start to see, hey, the Holocaust never happened, when you start to see, that's the point where it starts to become directly anti-Semitic. I don't give a fuck what anybody has to say about what I'm saying. It becomes directly anti-Semitic. And then it becomes, to me, something that is less than constructive. And for my situation, it's not to demonize anybody, right? It's to have conversations about what's the best and right way to do this. What happened with Kyrie was Kyrie put something on his page that I'm sure was not well vetted. Kyrie Irving is not anti-Semitic. Kyrie Irving is somebody like the rest of us who are trying to figure out who we really are and what we really are.
And Kyrie has, a love affair with conspiracy.
He does.
And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, he has an Illuminati tattoo on his hand. Mm-hmm. Right? When someone brought up Alex Jones, because I guess he posted up like a link to an Alex Jones speech, he said, first of all, I don't co-sign all the Sandy Hook stuff. That's absolutely wrong. I put up a video of Alex Jones like from the 90s where he talks about secret societies, which really exist. He had to throw that in.
My thing is, and look, my thing is, okay, secret societies really exist. Fine. I'm not going to go back and forth with you on that. Kyrie Irving also believes that the world is flat.
Earth is flat, yeah.
I'm not about to diss Kyrie. That's just fucking not true. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's just not true. Okay?
Yeah.
So, like, it's fine. But knowing that Alex Jones, this is, if I could talk to Kyrie, what I would ask him is, knowing that Alex Jones, like, lied on dead kids, knowing that he made up such a prodigious, such an amazing lie and perpetuated it for nearly 10 years, why on God's green earth would you ever... Do you know why I don't post shit that Joe Biden says? Because you can't fucking trust the president. People can we can talk about, like, the reason why you're never gonna see me in a picture with somebody that's in the White House. You won't. You
wouldn't have taken a picture with Obama when he was in the White House?
Then I would have.
I was going to say,
then I would have. Then I would have. I'm different now. Then I would have.
Okay.
I was out there. Then I would have. God damn it. I might say, look, he different though.
He different.
He different.
Okay.
He different.
I just had to check you for that one. All right.
He different. But what I'm saying is, being the president it means you have to drone people.
Yeah.
Being a president means you have to make decisions that there's no way to nobly do it. You can't nobly do it. It's the position of a warlord. It just is.
Yeah.
And so for me, it's very hard to be an inspiring president of the United States of America. I have too much distrust for that. But it's also impossible to be an inspiring liar on dead kids. I'm out of it for me. So I think Kyrie probably learned something. I think he learned something about. I think he learned probably a lot of things. But at the end of the day, like when I was talking to Mark Lamont Hill about this, it's like we all had this phase where we were in college or right out of college. The guy's only 31 years old. Which is way too old to be irresponsible, but still young enough to believe some things about the world that maybe you haven't scrutinized yet. And so I just think he got caught up, and it was caught in 4K in front of everybody. But I don't think that he's an anti-Semite. Kanye West is proud to be one.